First of all, the decisions made about QandA are made by the whole program and management team, and we all take responsibility for them. The QandA team were not aware at the time Zaki Mallah appeared of the very offensive, misogynistic tweet that he put out about two female journalists. Had we known, we would have rejected his participation. QandA featured a self-described Muslim activist who tweeted about gang-raping female columnists in January and pleaded guilty to threatening to kill an ASIO officer. Does QandA think the views of a man who suggested gang rape were worthwhile?
Some of the response has been really quite emotional in its tone and not productive.
You think the views of a man who suggested gang rape are worthwhile? Not that we knew about it at the time.
Look, I didn't know about his tweet about gang rape either, and my understanding was that that was a tweet that was very quickly taken down. And, you know, I've seen some pretty disgusting things by a whole lot of people on Twitter, and some of them directed at me and some of them directed at some people that I know as well. And not to excuse that at all.
I find it extraordinary that we're being told today that he would not have been asked on the program if people had known what he said in terms of his sexist and misogynist past and the threats he'd made about female journalists. We're told that that would have ruled him out of the program, but the fact that he had been prosecuted with terrorism, the fact that he had admitted that he threatened Australian officials and wanted to kill them, the fact that he'd served time, that he had a weapons arsenal, that he was conducting a campaign to publicise jihad, nonetheless, that's okay. Well, it's not okay. It's not okay in terms of the ABC taking a decision about who's going to appear on QandA and who is going to confront a government minister about citizenship policy.
Paul, can I just interrupt you there? Back in 2012, September, your own paper ran a story about Mallah headlined "Rebel Urges Muslims to Wage a Jihad of Peace." Now, I imagine you're aware of the content of that story.
I'm aware of that story,
yeah.
But that story is a separate issue from giving him a platform on this program. As I said,
can I just sorry, briefly, can I just quickly go to a point that was in the story? So the story in your paper said his experience going to Syria had showed that hate and violence were self-defeating. The more you fight, the more you lose, says Mallah in the story. The more you have hatred, this anger, the more you feel victimised. Now, would it have been wrong of the program makers to take that into account when forming a judgment about him?
This is not why he was on the program. He was on the program not to have, as far as I'm concerned, not to have a proper debate about the issue. This was a gotcha moment. This was a tabloid gotcha moment. He was picked out to embarrass the government on this issue, and in that sense, he had the wrong background. The fact that he'd repented, I think, is very good, but I don't think that excuses the choice made at the time.
He's good enough for your paper, but he's not good enough for QandA? That's what I'm hearing here.
No. Our paper didn't put him up on lights because we're not able to do that the way the ABC did on this program and counterpose him against the government to embarrass the government over citizenship law. Now,
okay.
Well, I'll be brutally honest. I actually think the producers and yourself, Tony, you ought to be ashamed of yourself for giving him a platform. The issue at heart is the ABC chose to give this person a platform on live television, precisely as Paul was outlining. And people can have their own views about issues, and no one is calling for this individual to be silenced or censored. No one has called for that.
I think the minister. Just a qualifying point. I think the minister on the night did say he would quite like to see him deported from the country.
That's amazing.
He did, but that does not silence or censor him.
No, but
I'm not sure how it does. I mean, he's still welcome to speak.
I'm simply making the point there that that view would be seen by some as being out of order as well. That a citizen should be expelled from the country.
Well, and the minister has expressed himself. I'm bringing it back to the root of the issue, which is what the ABC did, It chose to give him a live platform to express a view. It is bad because it denied the opportunity for somebody who is sensible and rational and credible to actually talk about the serious points around citizenship that exist in Australia and around those laws, which I have myself expressed genuine concerns about. But for then the ABC to turn it into some sort of free speech issue and try and project it as though the ABC had made just a simple error of judgment and invoke the idea that people that this was akin to the Charlie Hebdo massacres, I found laughable and contemptuous of the substance of the issue at heart. And I thought it was actually a tragedy that the Mark Scott chose to go and do it that way and actually, in essence, mock the memory of those people and what they actually stood and died for. And to be brutally honest, Tony, when I first came on this program in 2008, it was an environment where we had serious policy discussion. Too often these days, it's caught up with gotcha moments and snide remarks designed to get attention, extra attention in the news cycle. And that is what that was, and it blew back on this show and to its detriment. I think as soon as his comments were aired, it was quite clear that he was, putting it bluntly, a bit of a nutter. I don't think anyone would have taken them that seriously. But that is not the issue. The issue is why the ABC gave this person on live television a platform to exercise his views and express it, because in the end, people have a certain credibility test about whether they should appear on these programs, and I don't think he passes it, and I question why the ABC did it.
All right.
Just in relation to this point about free speech, the issue here is not free speech. It is not free speech. He's got the right to free speech whenever and wherever he goes. The issue here, just to come back to the central point about the program, was he was invited on the program, I believe, to create an exciting and inflammatory exchange, and that's precisely what happened. He was not invited onto the program to have a sensible debate about these issues. I think the ABC has got to pick up the signals it's getting from Malcolm Turnbull, who wants to help this organisation. And I think it's a mistake for the ABC to close ranks, defend the program, live by a tokenistic apology, and not take any substantive follow-up action. Substantive follow-up action by the ABC about this issue and this program is required. And I think this is a question of leadership of the ABC. It goes to the managing director, it goes to the chairman, and it goes to the board. Now, these aren't just my views. These are very widespread views. I support the ABC. I want to see a strong, vibrant, independent, impartial ABC. This concept is in real trouble at the moment. And if the leadership of the ABC is not savvy enough and smart enough to realise this and recognise that it's got to take some serious decisions about this issue, then that's going to be, I think, a very disappointing outcome for everybody.
Paul, you did go off the question there, but since you have so far, I'd like to get Tanya Plibersek just to respond to that.
Well, I'd say Malcolm Turnbull's such a great friend of the ABC. He's cut $500 million from its budget.
I don't think that's the test, Tanya. I don't think we use how many dollars are spent on the ABC as the ultimate test of one's support for the ABC as a minister, given the current fiscal situation.
It's not the only test.
You know what? Actually, people in the United States are much more threatened by right-wing extremists than by jihadists. I don't know if the same is true in Australia, but I would be surprised. You know, everyone focuses on this one area.
That sort of leaves out September 11. I don't think Bill Shorten was making a promise. He was making a series of bland statements or denials in a radio interview. Are you at all disturbed at how easily he lied under those circumstances, as he's your leader?
Tony, I think when there's a whole lot of turmoil in a political party, you don't want to be the person who's pouring petrol on that turmoil. So
can I just confirm what you're saying there, that lying under those circumstances is acceptable for a politician?
I never think lying's acceptable, Tony. I never think lying's acceptable, but it's understandable.
I think Bill Shorten, in that particular interview, was guileless. I mean, he should not have been caught out like that. He should have been much smarter, much cleverer.
Are you saying he's a poor liar?
Well, yes. Yes is the answer to that question. Bill Shorten was caught outright lying. The problem Bill Shorten's got is there's a question mark about what he believes. There's a question mark about his underlying convictions and beliefs simply because he looks too expedient. He's changed his mind on too many issues, in particular, of course, in terms of the leadership under the previous government.
When religion says, say, being gay is evil, and science can show there's no empirical basis for that, you say there's no inconsistency?
Well, it's not about consistency. People are entitled to their views,
well,
even if I disagree
wrong
with them. That's what happens in a free
religion,
society.
But for many people, their religion tells them something that's manifestly wrong. Are we supposed to accept that or just not say it's silly?
No, of course you're allowed to say it's silly. In fact, you're supposed to go out there and contest the
When you
discussion.
say people are entitled to their views...
Of course they are.
I'm just saying.
People are entitled... Once again, Tony Jones, you have used this platform to make a snide remark and aside, rather than actually addressing the fundamental issue.
I didn't finish my sentence. You're assuming what I was about to say.
People are entitled to their views. Whether the national broadcaster gives it a platform is an entirely different issue.